In this story, when you hear this, turn the page. Paddington's birthday party. No one, not even Paddington, knew quite how old he was when he arrived at number 32 Windsor Gardens. So the Browns decided to start again and call him 1. Everyone agreed with Mrs. Bird when she said they ought to celebrate the occasion by holding a birthday party. Paddington had lots of presents, but his favourite one of all was a conjuring outfit from Mr. and Mrs. Brown. It came from Barkridge's, and it not only had a table and a large box for making things disappear, but there was a special magic wand and a book of instructions as well. Unfortunately, before he had time to try out any of the tricks, the guests began to arrive, and he hurried downstairs to greet them. His friend, Mr. Gruber, who kept an antique shop in the market, was the first to arrive, and he was closely followed by the Browns' bad-tempered neighbour, Mr. Curry. Mr. Gruber was always welcome, but Mr. Curry hadn't even been invited. "I bet he's only after the free tea," hissed Jonathan. Luckily, Mrs. Bird's teas were usually so ample there was more than enough for everyone, including uninvited guests. So even Mr. Curry had no cause to complain. In fact, everyone voted it the best tea they'd ever had, and Paddington himself was so full he had a job finding enough breath to blow out the candle. But at last he managed it without singeing his whiskers, and everyone clapped and wished him a happy birthday. After tea, Paddington announced that he had a special surprise for everyone. Then he disappeared upstairs to his room in order to get ready for it. While Mrs. Brown and Mrs. Bird cleared away the tea things, Mr. Brown set about arranging the rest of the guests at the other end of the room. No sooner had everyone settled down than the door opened and Paddington reappeared, staggering under the weight of his magic outfit. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced when all was ready, "my next trick is impossible." "But you haven't done one yet," called Mr. Curry. Paddington ignored the interruption. He consulted his instruction book. "For this trick," he continued, "I would like an egg, please." Mrs. Bird looked worried. "Oh dear," she said. "Can't you use something else?" "No," said Paddington firmly. "It definitely says an egg." "I'm going to turn it into a bunch of flowers," he added darkly, "if I can get my magic wand to work." Paddington held up the magic wand and began making some passes over it with his other paw. To everyone's astonishment, including his own, it suddenly went quite limp. "Quite good for a bear," said Mr. Curry over the applause. "Of course we all know it's joined by elastic in the middle, but quite good." Paddington gave the Browns' neighbour a hard stare. But luckily, Mrs. Bird came into the room at that moment, carrying an egg. "Do be careful," she warned. "I had the carpet cleaned only last week." Paddington thanked Mrs. Bird, and then placed the egg on his magic table and covered it with a handkerchief. "Now," he announced, "if you watch closely, you will see it turn into a bunch of flowers." "I'd sooner you turned it into an omelette," called Mr. Curry. "I'm getting hungry again." But Mr. Curry's words fell on deaf ears, for Paddington was much too busy getting ready for his trick. He appeared to be doing something behind the table. "I shall now say the magic word," he announced, tapping the mound under the handkerchief with his wand. "Abracadabra." As Paddington tapped at the handkerchief, a murmur of approval went round the audience, for, sure enough, the egg had disappeared. "Bravo!" shouted Mr. Gruber. "Good old Paddington!" cried Judy. But Paddington was far from finished. Before the applause for the first half of his trick had died away, he raised his hat and withdrew a bunch of roses. Mr. Brown took a closer look at the crumpled objects in Paddington's paw. "Aren't those my roses?" he exclaimed. "No wonder the bushes looked rather bare just now." "Shh, Henry," said Mrs. Brown. "I'm sure they'll straighten out again once they're in water. Besides, I think he's about to do another trick." "Perhaps he's going to make himself disappear now," said Judy. When the music stops, turn your cassette over.